Cooper.
This is awesome. So cool. Oh, have you named all these stuffed animals? Because that's a lot of them.
Which one's your favorite animal?
I've had this gigantic monkey forever.
So people brought all of those to you when you were in the hospital?
Yep, just about all.
You're in the Chinese immersion program?
你好，我叫朋友。
Tanner knows a little bit.
Not really.
Do you know any Coop?
我知道很多的。
Wow, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Said
I know
chocolate.
a lot. I bet you haven't seen my pet frog I have. Oh,
No way. What's his name?
His name? I don't know. Let's call him Froggy. Who wants to feed him?
I'll feed him.
Okay.
Maybe we'll feed him.
Okay, plop it in.
I need to come move
Every
in.
once in
This kid's got good stuff.
Cameron, you gotta move to the side.
Yeah. I do this.
Go get Dad.
Bye. What are you? Yeah, he's coming.
Alright, tell me your name and your age.
Cooper, and I'm 9.
Cameron.
Cameron, and I'm 7.
And I'm Mom, and I'm not saying my name or my age.
She's Jana, and she's 39.
You get no Christmas presents. Remember the day this happened? The accident? Where were we camping? San Rafael, our favorite campsite. We had been riding all day, riding in a Rhino, and you were riding in a Can-Am, side-by-side ATV. We did what Mom always does, make sure you have seatbelts on, helmets on, sunglasses on, all buckled and ready to go. Went down in the canyon, and there was one spot we were worried about. There was one steep little hill, maybe 10 feet high. Dad and Papa drove up. They made it up, no problem, just fine. And so when we got back to the top, we all got back in. Cooper's dad and I were in the front with Cameron. We noticed it was pretty steep at the top, a little kind of a tabletop. We pulled ahead and stopped, and as I looked back, we saw the Can-Am with my parents and the kids in the back, Cooper and his cousin. The wheels hopped, went to the side. In a second, it started to roll. I saw the first couple rolls, and that was it. So we all ran out to look, and we thought they'd just be at the bottom flat part, and it was gone, it was just dust. His dad called 911, and as I ran down, I was just yelling, God, I need a miracle. I realized how out of control I was, and just started screaming at myself, focus, you gotta focus, this is gonna be bad. And I was just yelling it out loud. Your first thought is you're trying to prepare yourself for the worst. I knew because of the age of my parents, I just knew what to expect. And my grandparents were gone, and he and his cousin were hurt pretty bad. My husband had already seen him move from above when I was running down. As soon as I went to touch him, he kind of sat up and he was completely, out of it and going out quick, but it answered a lot of things, no spinal, no this, and that he was still here. So, my dad, he'd ridden for 30 years. We'd been on all sorts of rides, always super safe. We'd been places where you'd seen people who had had accidents or seen wreckage of old things, Those things you saw and thought were never possible happened. The first few hours, they were just fighting to keep him alive, to wait for us to get there to say our goodbyes. Both he and his niece had the same broken bone in their arm, hit the left side hard. So he had surgery for his arm, and they waited 2.5 weeks to reconstruct his face. He has plates right here. There's a couple divots where they had to make holes for the screws. You can feel them.
No, it tickles.
But luckily, we finally got the call after they had been fighting for a few hours, and so he finally stabilized. You get to the hospital with really nothing. They're bringing you a bag with stuff so you can shower in the showers that are there, and if you need clothes, they have them. And there's so many good people, huh?
Yeah, I remember a couple of nurses.
So here's all these nurses. They're 24/7. They would have to come in the middle of the night, and as you would look up and see him, so incredibly kind, treating him like it was their own kid and being so careful and quiet. So incredibly nice to them. There was the posters that were up in his room. She'd done those within a couple hours. There's a lot of stuff they do to try and help all the workers there know who your child is, what their personality is like. You could go with them into everything. In most hospitals, that's not the case. So it was really good to be there. Everybody's so happy, man!
are on our way to Avery Allen's house. She's 2 years old. She was under the water for approximately 15 minutes. She was flown to Primary Children's, took care of her for 8 weeks. We're gonna interview also her mom, Caitlin. It's a really amazing story.
Say hi to the Allens.
Avery, come here.
She's really shy. Come on.
Can I sit down? Thank you.
So I'm Caitlin Allen, and this is Jason. He is 9 months old, and she's 2.
And I am Jared Allen, and this is our little miracle Avery.
On Memorial Day, May 26th, I guess, we were camping at my cabin. The cabin's here, and where we were was kind of in the middle. The river kind of goes around it. She has a 3-year-old cousin who's a year older than her, and they were just pulling each other around in like a little red wagon on the trail. I went and checked on them and made sure they were okay, and I turned around and I went to get myself breakfast. I all of a sudden heard Avery's floating down the river. We just were bolting to the river.
I was mowing the yard of the cabin. Our sister-in-law ran up and said, Avery's in the river. My heart drops and I just run. I ran and jumped in the river. By that time, all of us were in the river.
We couldn't see her anywhere.
I took off way down the river. Caitlin and her brother stayed back. Took us about 15 to 20 minutes where we guessed to find her, and they found her on the bottom of the river with a stick poking out of her shoe.
It's a fast flowing river relatively, so it was really different to see a little stick in the river just sticking straight up out of the water. I said, what's up with that stick? My brother went over and checked it out, and it was stuck in her shoe. He pulled her out, started giving her CPR. Jared was clear down the river, and I immediately had my other brother give her a LDS priesthood blessing. And they let me ride in the helicopter with her. That wasn't a very fun experience to be in a helicopter. And my dad drove him to Primary Children's. It should have taken probably 2 hours to get there, and they were there within an hour and 15 minutes. So when we got there, the ER doctor took me back and talked to me. He said, if she lives, she will never be the same. She won't walk again.
One of the things that helped us was the staff there would stay with her 24/7 in the ICU. We couldn't sleep for the first little bit.
The nurses were awesome.
There with her when we were sleeping, and it just helped us and comforted us.
I would sit by her and I would talk to her, and I would say names of people she loved. The EEG would spike or go faster, and I knew that she was listening to me and could hear me. They did an MRI on Thursday and they didn't find any brain damage. They were like shocked.
Because it was a lack of oxygen.
By Friday she was breathing on her own and on her way to a
Responsive.
long recovery.
Then for the next 7 weeks we were in rehab.
Her therapist taught her how to hold her head up again. They taught her how to walk again.
She gets a little better every day.
She is expected to have a full recovery.
I mean, maybe someday she might have a learning disability or something,
But I do.
how do we know that she wouldn't have had that before, you know? It's a miracle worker. I never thought that I would go through something like this at 25. You know, when you go to Walmart or something and they're like, do you want to donate $1 to Primary Children's? And you're like, no, I'm good. And you never know if you're gonna have kids there someday.
She wouldn't be alive if they weren't so attentive and cared for. If you ever have to go through a hard time with a loved one, I don't think there's any other place I'd rather go. We'll forever be grateful and love Primary Children's for what they've done.